This is Open Line.
Hello everyone, welcome to Open Line. I am Ben Hall. Always an interesting topic. Tonight, elder care law. Perhaps you have a loved one that you're caring for and you have questions about the cost of nursing home care or wills. There can always be kind of difficult things to maneuver, lots of questions people have. Happy to have with us Tim Takacs, who's back once again. Tim, thank you for coming back.
You're welcome.
Elder care
Glad to be back.
Attorney.
Yes.
To answer questions. What we encourage is you to call in. Maybe you're caring for an aging parent, or maybe you yourself have questions about any of these topics we're talking about. Call in, share your story, ask your question. Tim will be happy to answer. Right. And Tim, what are you seeing? What are you seeing lately, this time of year, coming through the door of your firm?
All kinds of, we see all kinds of stuff, Ben. I mean, I was just thinking about what you were talking about, what were kind of all the stuff that we see, like today, for instance. I met with a family that a woman who is trying to take care of her mom at home. She's 92 years old. She's living in mom's living in her house, and she's trying to juggle all this. Her mother's on a veteran's benefit. She's worried about what if mom gets worse? How do I make sure she gets taken care of? She's thinking about, okay, mom wants to give money away to her children because she thinks the children need it more than she does, and the daughter is going, well, maybe not, because if you're getting a veteran's benefit and if you need to get to the nursing home or you need to get Medicaid someday, you can't just give money away. So all those sorts of things that that we've talked about over the years about being a caregiver and also being an older person, and and having one set of wishes about what you want, which may maybe collide with maybe some other things that you really need to be thinking about. What
are some of the questions that caregivers most often ask, or maybe some of the things they most often overlook, do you think?
Well, certainly one of the things that caregivers ask about is, well, at what point do I need to get more help at home? All right, so you start out, mom is, okay, dad passed away, and mom's late 80s, and her health is declining a little bit, and the children go, well, maybe mom shouldn't live alone anymore, and we need to start checking on her, and they start checking on her, and at what point does mom can't live alone anymore? Does one of the children move in? Does mom move in with one of the children? Do you start bringing more help at home? Is mom's not going to like that? Because as far as she's concerned, she's okay, and the children know, well, maybe she's not okay because bad things can happen when mom is living in the house, and all those sorts of things that we've seen over and over again. And so those are questions that our caregivers have. Mm-hmm. What point do we start bringing more help in? And is it me that does it, or is it somebody else? How do we pay for it?
How do you pay for it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What if mom is living at home, or if someone's living with her, and it really looks like this isn't going to work out because we can't take care of her? Where does she go? Can she go to assisted living? Does independent living, would that be good for her? What does that cost? Can she actually get into places? I've had families that asked me the other day, says, well, we understood that if you went into assisted living, they want to know all of what assets you have. And I said, no, it doesn't work that way. I mean, they think that the government or the nursing home or the care facility wants to know what money you have because they want to take it from you.
Right.
All those sorts of things that come in. And then of course, obviously the finances, there's things like driving, that's a big one. We always hear that, well, mom's not doing well. We had one that her mom had a TIA, or a little mini stroke, and the daughter's, the son says, well, she can still drive around the block a little bit, and Deborah, one of my elder care coordinators, go, why don't you let us know when she's out on the road? So all of us in the office will stay home.
Yeah.
I mean,
a little scary.
I always say sometimes if you knew what I knew, you wouldn't go out on the road at all.
Oh no.
I mean because people, they want to respect their parents' independence, and being able to be mobile and not being stuck at home. But on the other hand, there are some people that really maybe should not be driving.
Oh,
and don't assume that just because you know where the grocery store is and it's only 2 or 3 blocks away, because we've seen people we've seen older people get in the car and they get confused, and they take a right turn instead of a left, and they wind up running out of gas 100 miles away.
Oh no!
I mean, I had a client.
Oh.
He was driving from Oak Ridge to visit his daughter in Nashville. The Tennessee Highway Patrol found him on the side of the interstate in Pulaski.
Oh no!
He had run out of gas. He goes, I know I got to turn here somewhere.
Oh,
I mean, just one brief moment of inattention or confusion, or maybe the traffic's worse, or maybe there's a roadblock or something else where you get, that routine gets disrupted, and that can be very not just challenging, but it can be traumatic for older clients.
That is a tough conversation.
That is a tough conversation.
And so how do you have advice on how to do that, or does somebody else do it? How do you do that?
We had a show on that. As I think many of you know, we do Takacs McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour, and
here on the Plus.
Right on the Plus, and I think it may not have been the last. I think it was 2 months ago we did it. It was about driving, and that was one of the things that we talked about, and we had a gentleman come in from Department of Safety or Department of Transportation and talking about how that works. That a physician can contact the department, the department, and say, look, I don't really think this person should be driving, and so they will send something in to the state, and then the state will notify the elder or whoever it is. It doesn't have to be elder, but I mean it's someone who is maybe potentially an impaired driver, and that person has to come in and be tested.
Oh wow.
And if that person does not come in or does not reply, then their license would be revoked.
So that's pretty serious.
It is serious.
Wow.
Right.
So okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it worked that way. I wonder how many they revoked,
Oh, I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
It is an interesting question. I'm not sure, I'm sure they know. I don't know if they want to tell us or not. But,
right.
But that's the kind of thing where, needless to say, with the greater influx of older people that are obviously in the country and in the state and wherever, we're going to start seeing that more and more, that people feel like, well, I can't drive, or I think I can drive. And I often say, or I sometimes will say to our children who come in and they talk about that, well, mom can go to the grocery store and she can come back. And I'll say something like, well, would you let your children, your 3-year-old or 4-year-old children, drive with their grandmother right in the back seat? And almost all of them say, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So, all right, you mentioned nursing home care, assisted living.
Yes.
Often on this show, I will ask, how much does nursing home care cost? So now I know it's $8,000 a month.
Right. That's a fair number. Right.
So that's nursing home care. What about assisted living?
Assisted living, the really interesting thing about assisted living is it can run anywhere from maybe $2,500 a month to $8,000 a month, because a lot of it with an assisted living, it is a licensed healthcare facility. They have to be licensed. But they're very home-like. In other words, they're not like, they don't have like hospital beds. They don't have nurses and techs running around, although they do have some of that because it is they have to have nurses on staff and whatnot. But the important thing about your question is that there are some assisted living facilities that offer minimal services.
Okay.
Okay, so you get a small room, maybe you get a meal plan, somebody comes by and maybe cleans your small apartment once a week or whatever it is. And then there are some which are, I might call, very upscale, and they may have because there is different clientele that is interested in, they want to order from the menu, they may want to have meal plans that change. They have very nice dining rooms. The way I put it sometimes is they have cloth napkins and all that other stuff. And for people that want that,
right.
And that can afford it, it's there for them. Now, typically there are no government benefits that cover the cost of assisted living. So it's not like you can go to the state or the government and say, well, I would like to live in this 5-star 4 seasons assisted living for $7,500 a month, and pay, and I want you to help me pay for that. That's really not the way it works.
No.
It's not the way it works. So
with nursing home care, that's different.
That's different, exactly, because there are facilities. most of I would say the majority of nursing facilities in the state of Tennessee are participating in the state Medicaid program, which is now called TennCare Choices. So sometimes we don't try to call it Medicaid anymore because now it's called TennCare, and the long-term care part is called Choices, CHOICES.
Okay.
And so people who are in the nursing home, and they are in a nursing home that participates, we say participate, which means they accept payment from the state Medicaid program or TennCare Choices, then they can apply for benefits provided they meet the minimal amount of assets and income that you can have in order to qualify. And you know, we've talked about that regularly, that basically if you are a non-married person, you can have a house which is basically of less than $550,000 equity and $2,000 in the bank. That's how you can qualify for Medicaid or TennCare Choices.
Okay.
So
$550,000 house.
Right. And then of course what happens is when a person is in the nursing home and they pass away, they're on Choices at the time of their death, and the state has a right to recoup what they paid out, and it's recouped out of the house.
And that's what scares people.
That does scare people.
This is what people
Yes.
always ask about.
Right.
And yeah, we encourage you to call in questions or whatever. But this is where, yeah, they're worried they're going to come back and take the house.
Right.
Because they are owed money.
Yeah.
And all the money that I have is in the house.
Yes. Now, first thing here, I want to make sure everybody, and when we talk, because I emphasize that we're talking about a person who is not married, unmarried. Because if a person who is in the nursing home and receiving those benefits, TennCare benefits, that person passes away, if they are survived by a spouse, no estate recovery.
They're not going to sell your house and kick your spouse
Right.
out on the street.
Right. And they're not going to sell when your spouse dies, and so now there's nobody left, they're not going to sell the house because they can only recover, because the rule is, the law is that spouse, you know, John in the nursing home on Medicaid, he dies. Mary survives him 2 years. She dies. Then there is an unconditional release. In other words, the law is that no estate recovery. Now, some states I've seen they try to do it differently. They say, well, when John died, then his interest in the house passed to his wife, and we can recover something.
Right. Right.
Now, the way we do it is we want to make sure that if John's in the nursing home and he's getting these benefits, we want to make sure that he does not own anything at the time of his death. So we want John, and John will transfer the house to Mary. And people will, another question that we get from people, they'll say, well, isn't there a 5-year look-back period? And I say, not from transfers from one spouse to another.
Okay. All right.
So, you know, the 5-year look-back period, briefly, if you give money or property away, then typically that is a disqualifying transfer. So you give money away, it means you can't get Medicaid for 5 years.
Yeah, and that's the other thing people do is they want to give money to their kids.
Right.
But there's that look-back.
There's that look-back period, you know. And what we always tell people is that if you're an older person and you're worried about all of that, just if you're giving birthday gifts and Christmas gifts and whatever, you know, holiday gifts to your children or your grandchildren, keep doing that. Just carry on the same pattern of gifting that you've always done, because Medicaid they don't care about those gifts. What they care about is if you've typically given $50 for Christmas to your grandchildren, you know, and then suddenly you gave them $20,000. That's really not the kind of gifting that's the kind of stuff that may result in a look-back period.
Well, yeah, I bet it would. All right,
Yeah.
That sets the table for a lot of stuff.
does.
We have to take a break. If you want to call in, there's a number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We encourage you to call in with what's going on in your world. You caring for a loved one, or you yourself have questions. Give us a call, take a break, be back right after this.